Melania Trump is getting hit with the karma she deserves. She thought this was going to be her big weekend with her theatrical release of Melania, which has been the biggest disaster in movie industry history. Nobody wants to see it. The biggest flop ever. But guess what? As Melania wanted to propagandize her past and tell this glamorous story which nobody was buying, her real dark past was coming out. You see, Melania's name appeared in the Epstein documents that were released by her husband's Department of Justice. And not only was her name in those documents, we learned that she had a special nickname for Ghislaine Maxwell, Jeffrey Epstein's co-conspirator, who was involved in underage sex trafficking. While Ghislaine was involved in the underage sex trafficking ring with Jeffrey Epstein, Melania referred to Ghislaine as G, and she told G that you had a great photo in the New York Magazine article of Jeffrey, and Jeffrey looks so good in the New York Magazine profile of him. Let me share with you this email from 2002 from Melania to Ghislaine Maxwell. And wow, is it damaging? Here's the email dated October 23rd, 2002. Subject, hi. From Melania to Ghislaine Maxwell at the height of Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein's sex trafficking ring. Dear G, that was the nickname that Melania had for Ghislaine Maxwell. Dear G, hey, but Melania, didn't you say you didn't have a relationship with Ghislaine or Jeffrey? Well, let's go on and keep reading this email. Dear G, how are you? Nice story about Jeffrey Epstein in New York Magazine. You look great on the picture. I know you are very busy flying all over the world. How is Palm Beach? I cannot wait to go down. Give me a call when you are back in New York. Have a great time. Love, Melania. Wasn't that New York Magazine around the time when Donald Trump said Jeffrey Epstein is a great guy who likes women on the younger side? Isn't that the time when Donald Trump brought the Mar-a-Lago spa with underage girls to Jeffrey Epstein's home a few miles down the road in Palm Beach? Isn't that around the time where Virginia was sex trafficked underage from Mar-a-Lago by Jeffrey Epstein? But I thought Melania said she had no connections with Ghislaine and Jeffrey Epstein. So, well, we did know that you had the photos with Ghislaine and Jeffrey Epstein, but you said, yeah, there are just photos with people. That doesn't prove anything. Seems like you all knew each other based on this email. So let me get this straight, Melania, and tell me if I got my facts here. So you threatened to sue Michael Wolff, Donald Trump's biographer, and someone who was thinking about writing an autobiography for Jeffrey Epstein and met with Jeffrey Epstein for many hours. You threatened to sue Wolff for $1 billion if he didn't retract statements that were made saying that you had certain relationships with Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine. You said that what Wolff was saying was completely false and utterly defamatory. And you said you would sue him for $1 billion unless he said he was sorry, and unless he retracted his articles and profusely apologized. So he doesn't say he's sorry. In fact, Michael Wolff sues you in New York State Court. You don't counter-sue him. You run away and avoid service, so Michael Wolff can't serve you with the complaint. Then you following me? Then you go to federal court and say to a federal judge, hey, can you transfer this case to Florida or dismiss it because Michael Wolff has not been able to serve me because you've been hiding from him. Then we get to this weekend after you're trying to dismiss Michael Wolff's lawsuit. You're not filing any countersuits after claiming you were going to sue him for $1 billion. Then you launch your Melania movie. Jeff Bezos pays you $40 million as a licensing fee to tell some BS version of your life story or your background. Abdika G's, January 31st, 2026 at 09:21. An additional $35 million for marketing promotion in a theatrical release across the country in the biggest movie failure in history, Melania, where you tried to tell some bogus propagandized version of your past. And while you were doing that and making all of these appearances on state regime media, which calls itself Fox, while the nation is suffering because of your family and your husband, karma struck and we learned about your dark past, right there in the emails from the DOJ release, from your husband's DOJ release that he weaponized, making sure that you were utterly exposed. I mean, we're seeing it right there. Let's take a look at how The Guardian describes the worst movie ever, which is the Melania movie where everybody's laughing at Melania and mocking her right now. Here's what it says. No doubt there is a great documentary to be made about Melania Naus, the ambitious model from out of Slovenia who married a New York real estate mogul and then found herself cast in the role of a latter-day Eva Braun. But the horrific Melania movie emphatically isn't it. It's one of those rare unicorn films that doesn't have a single redeeming quality. I'm not even sure it qualifies as a documentary exactly, so much as an elaborate piece of designer taxidermy. Horribly overpriced and ice-cold to the touch and proffered like a medieval tribute to placate the greedy king on his throne. Speaking of the greedy wannabe king on his throne, we learned a lot about Donald this weekend in those Epstein files. Melania, the same way we learned about you and G, that's what you called her, right? G, the child sex trafficker G, who you said looked so good in that New York Magazine profile when Trump was out there talking about Epstein liking those girls on the younger side. Remember that, Melania? Because here's some of the things we learned. Let's just look at this document from the Epstein files, EFTA 164. Let's look at the Bates number right here. Please see below summaries. Epstein's cellmate interview. So in an interview apparently with Epstein's cellmate, this is what they said about Donald Trump. Redacted states that Epstein introduced her to Trump, who subsequently forced her head down to his exposed penis, which was subsequently bitten. In response, Trump punched her in the head and kicked her out. Or how about this one? Redacted remembers Epstein introduced her to Trump saying, "This is a good one, huh?" And Trump responded, "Yes." There's also references to Harvey Weinstein and Prince Andrew and Glenn Dubin and Jess Staley and others. But Melania, we're learning about this on your big movie debut weekend. What is this? The worst weekend of your life, Melania? It sure sounds like it. And by the way, when you were doing that, we would call it even a red carpet. We'll call it a black carpet event. When a reporter asked you and Donald Trump, what would he be like today if you guys didn't meet and get married, and then just look at how Donald Trump looks. Look at how Melania looks. I wonder if he's thinking about Jeffrey Epstein here. Play this clip.
I asked your husband if he would be the man he is today if he had never met you. What do you think?
Well, we will all be in different places, I guess. Right?
We do like the way it worked out. So.
Correct.
And Mrs. Trump, what do you...
And we know that Donald Trump didn't even want to be there with you. Look how thrilled he is to be there with you, Melania. Play this clip.
And what is something that you want people to take away from this film?
Here in this film, they will see a lot of emotion, passion, grief, sadness, celebration, love. Yeah. So that's the message.
Melania movie had an international theatrical debut. By the way, it was banned in some countries like South Africa because Donald Trump is a heinous individual. This group in the UK called Led by Donkeys went to each of the various cities and areas in the UK and found the theaters essentially completely empty. Also, it should be noted that at the red carpet or black carpet event, whatever you're going to call it for Melania here in Washington, D.C., there was a humiliating hot mic moment at the premiere where Melania's family doesn't show up. Donald Trump's cabinet doesn't show up. Everybody stood Melania up. So many people ditched the Melania premiere, including Barron. Barron didn't want to be there. Abdika G's, January 31st, 2026 at 09:21. A hot mic at the premiere of Melania Trump's documentary captured the long list of people who never showed up. Nearly a dozen people close to the Trump administration skipped out on the world premiere of Melania. Multiple family members were no-shows at the First Lady's big night at the Kennedy Center, including Barron Trump, Eric Trump, Lara Trump, Tiffany Trump, and Ivanka Trump. Several Trump officials, including J.D. Vance and others, did not show. Kristi Noem, no-show. Pam Bondi, no-show. Brett Baier, Carrie Lake, Maria Bartiromo, Riley Gaines, Sean Duffy, Peter Navarro, all no-shows. And you'll see the camera on the red carpet saying, "Oh, this is weird. Nobody's showing up here. How humiliating is this? Play this clip." But the right-wing oligarchy did show up to a private premiere at the White House and then proceeded to get trashed by their companies, rightfully so. Apple workers livid at Tim Cook for showing up to the Melania movie. Utterly disgraceful. And I want to note this as well, Melania. You're not ditching the allegations of potential relationships with Epstein and Ghislaine. You also had Brett Ratner as your director. Brett Ratner, who has been accused over and over again of engaging in serious, horrific conduct. And Brett Ratner also appeared in the Epstein emails. You had that in common, Melania. And then we're just going through the various theaters in the United States where in many of these theaters, not a single ticket was sold. Melania, yikes. This is so embarrassing. The karma you deserve. Your whole background is phony. You said you graduated from college. You didn't. You said you were a supermodel. You weren't. You met Donald Trump at the Kit Kat Club. You linked up with an agency that introduced young European women to wealthy men. Okay, Melania, there you have it, folks. Let me know what you think. Hit subscribe.